For fear of religious persecution based on their Calvinist faith, the Bernoulli family moves from Antwerp, Belgium, to Basel, Switzerland. In 1654, Nicholas Bernoulli, a spice merchant, has his fifth child, Jacob Bernoulli. 13 years later, Nicholas has his 10th child, Johann Bernoulli, in 1667. Nicholas had hoped both his boys would follow the family business and pushed them hard to stay away from mathematics. Jacob proceeded to earn a degree in theology and then carried through his studies in mathematics, while Johann's first degree was in medicine. Jacob became a professor at the University of Basel. He was soon to become the chair of mathematics there, and remained at that position until his death. This year, Johann began his studies in mathematics under his brother Jacob. In the late 1680s, while working together, both Jacob and Johann came across Leibniz's new calculus and started to devour it. Both brothers saw the potential of this new field and were quick to immerse themselves in the study of calculus. With the help of calculus, Jacob published an analytical proof to Huygens' result in the Acta Eruditorum. It was the first time the term integral was used in the context of calculus. In the same publication, Jacob posed a related problem, the problem of the catenary. The catenary problem asks for the mathematical description or equation of the shape formed by a hanging chain with uniform weight that is held up at its two ends and is acted upon only by its own weight. 1 year later, Leibniz, Huygens, and Johann posted solutions to the problem of the catenary. Jacob was not happy with Johann's publication and demeaningly called Johann his pupil, implying Johann could only mimic his teacher. Around the same time, Guillaume François L'Hopital had also commissioned Johann as his teacher. In 1687, Johann's first child was born, Nicholas Bernoulli. That same year, Johann accepted a position at Groningen and moved there with his family. L'Hopital published the first text in calculus, which contained the widely known L'Hopital's rule. At first, Johann was agreeable with the acknowledgement made by L'Hopital to Johann, but as use and popularity of the text spread, Johann was more eager to claim his dues to the ideas in the text. That same year, Johann poses the problem of the brachistochrone, which is the problem of selecting a curve having a given maximum or minimum property from a set of infinitely many curves. 1 year later, Johann Bernoulli, Jacob Bernoulli, Leibniz, Newton, and L'Hopital published a solution to the brachistochrone problem. In Jacob's solution to the brachistochrone, he recognized that the brachistochrone was essentially a new type of problem, which demanded the invention of new methods for its solution. It is argued that Jacob's identification was the birth of calculus of variations. Meanwhile, others believe that the area of study of calculus of variations took root in Johann's notes on the brachistochrone problem. No certainty is held as the real origin of the calculus of variations, but it did, and still does, add to the supremacy rivalry of Johann and Jacob Bernoulli. In Jacob's solution, he further proposed the isoperimetric problem, and called Johann out for the challenge. Johann came up with a solution and claimed the prize, only to later discover that he didn't consider the variational characteristics involved, and thus his solution was incorrect. Mysteriously enough, the solution was not published, but rather locked away. In 1700, Johann's second son, Daniel, was born. Daniel would later become the most famous of the younger generation of Bernoulli mathematicians. There was much religious and political instability in Groningen, and the university was also affected by the situation. As a result, many positions were left empty for many years. While in Groningen, Johann also practiced medicine, which led to several accusations by his students of him going against his Calvinist faith. L'Hôpital passed away in 1704, and could no longer defend himself against Johann's accusations of plagiarism in his calculus text. Even worse for Johann's ego, his accusations constantly fell on deaf ears, and Johann was alive for many more years to see L'Hôpital's book gain much popularity. While traveling with his family to Basel from Groningen to visit his ill father-in-law, Johann learned of his brother's death. Jacob left behind a nearly finished manuscript on probability, The Art of Conjecture. The Art of Conjecture contained Jacob's single most important piece of work in the field, the weak law of large numbers. Jacob's widow refused to let the text be published under the supervision of Johann. It was later published in 1713. The chair in Basel University was now free for Johann to take, which he took gladly. Johann's incomplete solution to the isoperimetric problem was finally revealed. To his fortune, Jacob was no longer around to boast about Johann's error. Johann became involved in the Newton-Leibniz controversy, showing his strong support for Leibniz. He showed that Leibniz's work helped solve more problems where Newton's method had failed. Johann contributed greatly to the dominance and widespread use of Leibniz's methods in Europe. In the spirit of clarification of Jacob's inability to solve the catenary problem, Johann wrote to his colleague, "I was more fortunate, for I found the skill to solve it in full, and reduce it to the rectification of the parabola. It is true that it cost me study that robbed me of rest for an entire night." In this year, Johann had also published an elegant solution to the isoperimetric problem. However, this solution seemed awfully similar to that of Jacob's. Nicolas and Daniel Bernoulli, Johann's sons, both received appointments in St. Petersburg University. Nicolas died in less than a year after arriving. Johann arranged for his best student, Leonhard Euler, to go work with Daniel in St. Petersburg. Both Johann and Daniel Bernoulli won the Paris Academy's prestigious prize competition. In this competition, Johann was arguing for Leibniz, and Daniel was in support of Newton. This did not lay well with Johann. In this year, Daniel also finished his text, Hydrodynamica. Hydrodynamica contains analysis of the soon-to-be-called Bernoulli principle, which analyzes the properties of fluid flow, such as pressure, density, and velocity. In 1738, Daniel published his Hydrodynamica. This turned out to be his most important work and earned him much fame. Coincidentally, Johann published a text called Hydraulica, which contained similar content to that of Daniel's book. Johann even tried to backdate his book to 1732 to make it appear like Daniel stole Johann's ideas. Johann Bernoulli passed away in 1748 at the age of 81. Hellman argued that after Jacob Bernoulli's, Leibniz's, and Newton's deaths, Johann was arguably the foremost mathematician of his time. It is also important to note that Johann had left another type of imprint on the world of mathematics. He was an excellent teacher, and several of his students went on to have success and contribute greatly to mathematics and related fields.